Well, this is going to make me a little bit sad, but we got to go backwards to go forwards.
Come on, you.
Well, that's disappointing and sad, but it'll be even more disappointing and sad if one of these tires gets ruined, which they will be getting ruined with welding sparks and grinding dust and all you name it. So they'll be going back in the house for safety. Not cool, but again, it'll be more of a tragedy if these things get wrecked. I got a great deal on these tires, and there's no way I'd be able to afford these tires if I had to buy them brand new straight from Coker. So if any of these get damaged, it's like catastrophic. Like these are worth more than like the whole truck will be. Without these tires, the chicken truck ain't happening. I'm not compromising on the wheels and tires. So there you go. BFGs it is for now. Oh, it wasn't so bad. It's like ripping off a band-aid. You just gotta do it all at once, get it over with. And seeing it like this just makes you want to work extra hard so that I can get it all put back together. Okay, well, we now have the cab bolted to the frame, and I know some folks were looking forward to seeing the body mount construction for some reason, and don't worry, we will be covering that in the future What has happened here is I've just installed some temporary mounts. If you're new here, this truck was originally intended to be mounted on a truck frame, and at some point we decided to make things way more complicated for ourselves and use a passenger car frame. And so now all the mounts and things that we built previously and the floor don't really fit as well as they could. So I didn't want to spend a bunch of time building super elaborate permanent mounts at the moment, because I may end up remaking a portion of this floor or the entire thing. This floor will work as is, but it may be faster just to remake the entire thing, and I would gain a little bit more interior space by doing that. But that's, again, future problems. So for all the body mount enthusiasts out there, please do not fret. We will be covering the body mount construction in the future when this project is a little bit further along and we have a better idea of what's going to be happening. But for now, the cab is very securely bolted to the chassis. The last thing I want on this channel is more missing body mount drama. So cab is very secure on the frame. It's been squared up, and we can proceed with the rest of the fabrication, or just roughing in the fabrication, and then eventually this body will be getting lifted off the frame so that I can clean up and paint the frame and rebuild all the suspension, and at that point we'll rebuild the body mounts into something that's a little bit more substantial. So the next challenge is going to be getting all of the front sheet metal actually mounted to the frame, and there's several problems to overcome here. We have a lot of stuff in the way that's not in the way on the truck frame, and basically nothing is going to work without being modified. So if anybody out there is pondering swapping their 1947 to 54 Chevy truck onto a Chevy car frame from 1949 to 54, don't do it. It's a terrible idea. The only reason it's working on this project is because the cab and the rest of the body is so heavily modified that it really doesn't matter what frame we use. This chassis here will allow me to get the truck a lot lower without resorting to using modern components, which we are trying to avoid on this build. And so that is my reasoning here. Again, this is not a good swap for these trucks. Just want to clear that up. If this was a stock body, there would be absolutely no way this thing would fit, like not even remotely close. So hopefully that explains that. Probably not. Excuse me, sir. Would you mind telling me what happened to the paper towel roll? Any comments or explanation? Anything at all? Are you gonna make eye contact? Well, it's a day or two later, and you may notice things have kind of been reorganized here. We were supposed to get the storm of the century with great big massive chunks of hail and gale force winds and tornadoes, and so I very quickly drew everything off to the side so I could bring in the Malibu, because I didn't want the glass to get smashed out, because then I wouldn't have a car to drive. And then nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. So all of this was a waste of time. But with my luck, if I hadn't brought the car in, then you know, all the glass would be smashed out and whatever. So way she goes, I took the opportunity of this open garage space to bring in the fleet of stuff that actually runs and do some maintenance. And I didn't make you watch me do that. You're welcome. But I am going to make you watch me move all this crap out of the way again so we can get back working on the truck. So this bracket that you saw me messing with is the original emergency brake assembly mount for the truck, as well as the inner fender mount. So I'm not using the truck emergency brake setup, but I do need to mount the truck inner fenders. So we just got this kind of stripped down, and it is going to get bolted on here in the factory location, and then the inner fender itself mounts to here. And there's our bracket partially installed. So this is the fender support brace, and it attaches onto here and comes up to the fender, and this one is badly bent, and it's the only one that I have other than the one that's already bolted on here. So we're going to have to straighten it out, I guess. Okay, front end is loosely bolted in place, so the next project is to get the radiator support installed. That does create a bit of a problem because this here is the truck radiator support, and this is the car radiator support, and you can see that it is about 3 inches wider than the truck radiator support. There's several other problems as well. It's in my best interest, I believe, to start with the truck radiator support, as it has all of the mounting apparatus that I need to mount all the front fenders and the front fender braces and all that important stuff. Just got some bad news here, folks. We're gonna need a new fan belt. Okay, well, I actually got everything here loosely bolted in place, and we are going to have to do a little bit of work here with this rod on this side. It'll have to kind of get re-engineered to clear the carburetor. I'm not too worried about that at this stage. I just want to get it located. I know a lot of folks leave these out, but I think they're important. Otherwise, GM wouldn't have put them on the trucks originally. So try to maintain as much of the factory mounting locations as I can, and it'll save a lot of time down the road. I also got the fender braces installed, so that is very helpful. That really helps keep the fender in place, so things are starting to really come together up here. Again, more stuff that is kind of important, so we don't want to leave that out. As you can probably see, there is a bit of an issue here. This is the factory radiator support for the truck. We had to cut the bottom off, and this is where the Pontiac or Chevy radiator support mounts, which is obviously much further ahead. I can't mount the bottom of the radiator support further back. Well, I could, anything's possible. Now, this is for the sway bar or whatever you want to call it, but I mean, we could build a pedestal up from here or build a new cross member here up further higher, but obviously that will kind of affect the size of radiator that we can put in this thing. So I think I have a simpler solution to this problem. Not fancy solution, but something that should work and hopefully be strong. So at this stage of the build, I just want to get everything loosely positioned. I don't want to finalize anything, so everything is just very roughed in. So all I did right now is I set the hood back on, and then I just tack welded it onto the fenders where it was when it was sitting on the truck frame before. So we know that's situated, and then I kind of got everything shifted around and bolted up. And then all I did is I put the Pontiac radiator support back in its factory location. I bolted that down, made sure it was centered in the thingy, and then I just put a few tacks holding it to the inner fenders. And eventually the plan is to retain this Pontiac radiator support. I'm surprised it worked out as well as it did. It's perfectly sitting up against these inner fenders. So what I'll do is I'll just build brackets that mount it to these inner fenders, and also tie into the fender supports for the fenders, and make that all bolt together again. I guess we could just weld them to here, but I kind of like having everything removable just for serviceability. So then we can delete the remains of the truck radiator support. There's no point in having it here. It's just a wasted space, and it looks kind of ugly. So that's the plan there, but for now we're just leaving it roughed in where it is, and then I can build out from there, cut these tacks open once I get all my bracketry built, and then everything will be located in the right spot and we can go on. But to get everything finalized right now is kind of a waste of time. We're too early in the build to start getting too fussy about the details. I might have to go back and change something later that I have overlooked, and it would be a shame to do all that work to get it 100% and then have to cut it all back apart again. So that's the way I approach doing stuff like this, is I like to get everything mocked up, and then everything where it needs to be, every single part. Once I know everything's going to fit together and I like the way it looks, then I'll go back and start building everything into its final configuration. If only I would have followed my own advice before constructing the floor on this truck. In my defense though, when I built that floor, I didn't think this project was going anywhere. So in reality, it's actually all your fault for continuing to watch this nonsense. Yep. Got the passenger side bedside held in place with a few clecos, so that's out of the way now. Got this attached to here, so we're getting close to something now. Just using a razor blade to strip off the worst of the paint. Razor blades are cheap, sandpaper is not. So now we are finally ready to start modeling out the sides, the fadeaway fenders, so we have to kind of sculpt that all out. And we can also start modeling out the tailgate and the bed sides, start figuring out what direction we want to go there. That was a lot of work to basically end up exactly where we started at the beginning of this video, but we are a lot further along as far as just getting everything mocked up now. The front sheet metal is actually attached to the truck. The cab is actually attached to the frame. And so we're in good shape now. Unfortunately, me shifting things a fraction of an inch and measuring and fiddling around and cutting this and doing that doesn't exactly make for a great video. So this is kind of a short one this week. Now, before anybody panics, this month the episodes are going to be a little less frequent and a little bit shorter. And that's not because the videos haven't been doing well or the channel isn't doing well. The channel is doing surprisingly well. That's all thanks to you folks watching, and of course the patrons and the donors of the show on PayPal, and the super thanks. So you guys have all been amazing in supporting this project so far, and so I would like to just keep going on it, but unfortunately we live in reality and I'm falling behind on everything else. So before I can do any more on this truck, I have to get the 35 Chevy on the road. I finally got all the parts in for that. And we also have to do an engine swap on the 1950 Chevy 1-ton. So that's going to be coming up, and I don't know as far as time frame goes how long any of that's going to take, but it does mean that I'm going to have to focus on that before I can get back on this project. I just want to get all the little other things on the list out of the way so that we can go back to full time on the chicken truck. So just let everybody know that there's going to be a little less videos in the next coming month or whatever until I'm caught up on everything again, and then hopefully we can just go hard on the chicken truck again. I'll try to keep everybody up to date on the 35 Chevy. I mistakenly said that there was only 3 people interested in that car. But it caught my attention there's more like 32 people interested in seeing that car, so I'll try to keep them happy. But unfortunately, as with this project and every other car adventure, 99% of it is just cleaning and scraping and boring, repetitive stuff that I can't make videos on. I'm okay with phoning it in now and then, as you saw in this episode, but we do have to kind of put out the occasional show that is actually watchable. I guess we'll sign off now, and thanks again to all the patrons and all the folks watching and all the folks sending in donations via PayPal and super thanks and all that. It's all really helped me to continue doing this, and very pleased and surprised by all your support. So I'm hoping to continue doing this for at least as long as I'm able to. So I'll sign off, and we'll see you again in the next episode.